pioneers of this incredible sport fishery caught their fish the hard way, often fishing from the boat they travelled and slept on, boats not always designed for fighting the huge fish. But the industry learnt fast. Techniques, boats, equipment, all were developed rapidly to improve the success rate of the world's anglers on the giant and plentiful marlin. Today, no one has more fun than they did in the early days of marlin fishing, but the boats and equipment are better designed, the crews more practiced, and the skippers have learnt a lot since then. 25 regular boats fished the season in 1981, most of them light, fast and manoeuvrable, working to motherships, some of them large, luxurious and self-contained. Marlin fishing costs around $1,000 a day, and returns like that attracted many would-be charter operators to Cairns. In the mid-70s, there were more boats working the marlin season than today, but operating costs were high too. Laurie Woodbridge was one of George Bransford's first deckhands, and as a skipper who's been here since the beginning, has seen a lot of boats come and go.
Like the initial rush where everyone got a game boat and got into it and got their fingers burnt and got out, and it's all finished. Everyone sort of takes a long look at it now before they jump in.
Has it got a firm, well-established base now, do you think?
Oh, I think so, yes. As long as those marlin keep coming back. See, the unfortunate thing about it is they've got a tail and they can swim about. And
yeah.
It happened in Peru, whether they never came back.
Yeah.
I don't think it could ever happen here.
Peru was unlucky. The seabed collapsed, a major current changed course, and the fish disappeared. Off Cairns, the fish indeed seem safe, but there have been threats. For decades, fleets of commercial Japanese longline vessels have been intensively fishing the waters just wide of North Queensland's Great Barrier Reef. They come primarily for yellowfin tuna, a luxury food fish that sells in Japan for $35 a pound. But the months they fish, usually October-November, coincide with the marlin season, and the Japanese kill a lot of marlin. During a federal government survey of these vessels, I witnessed them killing 3 marlin an hour per boat, contributing to an operation that netted each vessel in excess of $20 million a season. Marlin are an expensive luxury food in Japan too, and every year thousands die on the Japanese 50-mile-long set lines. The Japanese are still doing this, but today it's more controlled. Since late 1979, only 12 boats may fish inside the 200-mile Australian fishing zone at any one time, and the longliners have since been banned from the Cairns marlin waters altogether. While the marlin were establishing Cairns as the heavy tackle world capital, light tackle sport fishing was steadily developing in North Queensland too. From Cairns to Townsville, enthusiastic groups of locals were enjoying the best fishing the North had to offer, in the tidal creeks, around the islands, and out here on the reef.
Oh, good fish. Pacific barracuda. Don't bang him in the head. He's got a mate below him too.
Today, of course, sport fishing is so entrenched here in North Queensland that the North is a symbol of the sport for the rest of Australia. The transformation took place so quickly for 2 reasons. One, the brilliant fishing that already existed here, and the other, experienced sport fishermen who came here from down south with their expertise and their light tackle methods. These were men like Australia's #1 fishing author, Vic McChrystal, and tackle genius Jack Erskine. These were the people who influenced local sport fishermen, men like Maury Brown, Laurie Woodbridge and John Mondora, who in their turn became the nucleus of the whole sport fishing movement here in the North.
You right? Get a bit more on around.
He's not big enough there, Cairns.
We'll have to put this one going quick.
Most of us in the north began our tropical sport fishing in the creeks, tossing lures mostly, and nearly everyone who did that up here was influenced to some extent by a man who, lured to the north by its brilliant fishing, wrote hundreds of magazine articles about it. Just like George Bransford with the marlin, Vic McChrystal led the way with sport fishing.
Well, it was really comical when I first came up because I went through Cairns and I couldn't find anybody who fished with rod and reel. I did a little stirring and they surfaced. They were there before me, of course. But they were very hard to find those days. And these days, they won't even talk to me in case they give something away and tell me too much. Well, game fishing has gone in a parallel direction with sport fishing. They've developed towards lighter lines and the release of fish, the tagging of fish, and that kind of thing. It's not my particular sport. I never have been able to relate to the fish bigger and something that I can handle myself one-handed. I just enjoy that sort of thing, and I don't particularly enjoy being tied to a great big fish 4 meters long.
After Vic McChrystal, the 3 most influential sport fishermen to guide sport fishing's development here are a group who still fish a lot together. 2 locals born in the north, Laurie Woodbridge and John Mondora, and from Sydney, tackle wizard John Erskine. Vic McChrystal knows them all well.
Well, Laurie's one of the most observant men I ever knew. He's a good bushman. He always looks beyond the physical fact of seeing, say, a fish in the water. He wants to know why it's there, what it's doing there, whether it's breeding or whatever. He has this tremendous perception. He's got a reach and a depth to his perception that the average guy hasn't got. He's also, of course, had the advantage of being taught by some pretty distinguished fishermen in his own turn. But he's extremely versatile. Can be a fairly difficult man to get much out of, but his fishing skill is in world class. I'd say Erskine is the spearhead of the technical side of fishing in Australia. Others undoubtedly have made tremendous contributions too. But Jack's in a position, has made himself into a position to do tremendous things technically for the sport. I've never struck anybody quicker or faster than Jack at sizing up a fellow's needs.
Tackle expert, marlin skipper, and then there's John Mondora.
You can't describe Mondora in very easy terms. John and I have been friends for many years. We understand one another remarkably well. Though anyone listening to our conversation would probably think that we were not friends. But John has a tremendous sense of humour, and he's also, of course, a tremendous fisherman.
When the experts finally discovered the tropical north's incredible fishing, the resulting advances were spectacular. But the tropical paradise waited a long time. Prior to about 1965, you'd have been hard-pressed to find a sport fisherman using light casting tackle like this in the Cairns area, or for that matter, anywhere in North Queensland. People went fishing, of course, in those days, but they used hand lines and bait, and they did most of their fishing close to shore in estuaries and rivers like this, or they fished out on the Great Barrier Reef from large boats with hand lines. It's a little ironic, I guess, that a fabulously endowed fish-rich area like tropical North Queensland hasn't had a longer history of sport fishing.
There is a little bit of run here today. Aye. I suppose I've got to get my feet wet, pulling you up on the beach.
By the late 60s, there were enough sport fishermen active in the Cairns area to form a club of some sort. And on the 7th of February 1968, a group of about 20, including Woodbridge, Erskine, McChrystal and Mondora, met on a wet monsoon night in their bare feet and formed the Cairns Sport Fishing Club. 3 months later, the same people launched the Australian National Sport Fishing Association, ANSA. Growth of the movement nationally was phenomenal. By 1982, there were 128 clubs across the country, quite an achievement from such small beginnings.
It would have been 1954. That's when I first ventured into a creek with a little rod that was about the same action as a mop handle, a small direct drive reel with a 25-pound line on it.
No drag at all, didn't it?
No drag. You relied completely on your thumb. As soon as the fish got on, you put the ratchet on so you didn't get an overwind from the fish running away. But, The gear was pretty primitive then, but it was 54, and I went into the Barron Gorge with one of my mates and his father, and they were the only two people that I knew at that time that were using like little casting reels and small lures.
I came here originally to visit my brother-in-law, and I met Laurie and Johnny and some of the boys here, and they were very, very good to me and became involved in it. And they were definitely fishing under conditions which were very badly affected by the lack of adequate tackle to do the job they were trying to do. Not so much by the lack of tackle, but what they lacked for in tackle, they certainly made up with fishing skill and ability, which really impressed me. But I was just so impressed by the great number and variety of fish, the different type of fish and the different fishing conditions, and I just could not imagine that this kind of fishing existed. And this to me was really like a great place to become involved with your work and involved with that type of fishing and the people that are here. It wasn't an easy task by any means. We went through a lot of development period and a lot of work, and a lot of people here contributed to a lot of things that we've come up for this sort of fishing. But it was no magic on my behalf. It was just a lot of contribution from a lot of people. But I had the access and the availability of getting some of these things that just never been available here before.
There are lots of reasons why thousands of people from all walks of life love sport fishing. John Mondora embodies some of them.
I wouldn't be dead for quids, and when you're in a situation like this, well, you know, you wonder what the poor people do. You know, a guy with $100 million that's battling the stock market, he can have his 100 million, mate. This is me. You know, this is what really is what sports fishing's all about. You know, it's you don't need $1 million to go sports fishing. You need a bit of a dinghy that'll float and a rod and reel, and away you go, mate. And you can have a lot of damn fun.
You've got to be a dreamer for a start. Yeah, I think every sport fisherman has a little bit of small boy in him, and
yeah, I like that. Yeah.
You're always looking for something extra, something better, something different. And I think I probably get as excited now as I did when I was small.
Sport fishing then in the north is established and popular, but what of its future? Fishing magazine proprietor Paul Newcomb.
Fantastic, it really has. I don't think we've really explored the depths of the fishing in the north here. There's chaps coming out every week and saying they've got better fish than the week before. We say, oh, they can't do it. Next week they even better that. So I think it's a fantastic future.
Yeah. Do you think that sport fishing is going to go in any new directions here from Cairns? In charter work, I mean, and that sort of thing?
Yes, we'll see. We've got the larger boats, the 40-footers, which are full most of the year now. You have to fight to get on one of the boats. For love nor money, but you can't get on one.
In advance, yeah.
Yes, or even 3 years in advance in some of the really good boats. And possibly there's going to be a leaning towards the smaller game boat, probably around 20, 21 feet.
Do you think Cairns and this sport fishery north has any problems for its future?
In regards to conservation, yes. I think mainly that area.
In what way?
Oh, it's terrific now. We can go out there and fill the boat up with fish, and we'll pat ourselves on the back and say, isn't it wonderful? But I'm concerned that possibly in a few years' time, now if you read reports from the Fisheries Department, where they're saying that there's 0.8 of a coral trout, it must be a small trout, but per hectare out here on the reef within 20 miles of Cairns. Now, a few years ago, there was an abundance just off our doorstep. Yeah. So there is a decline in that area.
Yeah. What can be done then?
Well, a lot of learned men are looking at the problem now, and possibly, I'd say, we may have to look at a bag limit and say, look, that's enough. You've got your bag full now, and leave it at that. Don't go any more, so that tomorrow you can come back again.
Conservation is the single most important responsibility all of us who use this incredible reef environment are charged with. Unlike many wildernesses lost to the world before it, the reef and its waters still has a chance. It's here now. It can be here forever. Sport fishing in all its forms is one of the world's biggest participation sports, and nowhere is it more spectacular than here on Australia's Great Barrier Reef. Best of all, in 6 incredible adventures, you and I are about to share it.
Yes, sir. Wow. In our part of the world, they call this exercise jigging, and it's one of the most exciting ways to catch fish here on the very edge of the Great Barrier Reef. It's not the only way we catch them here, as you'll shortly see. But what's fascinating and intriguing about it is that when you drop that jig down, put the reel in gear, and hook up like that, not only do you not know whether you're going to get him up to the top or not, but it's a lucky dip element. You don't know what he's going to be. This bloke's a small one. Red bass. He grows a lot bigger than this fella, but he's just one of dozens and dozens of very exciting sport fish that live down here. Oh, good caught. Beauty. You see what I mean? The place is alive with good fish.
Well, I'll take the boys down to the shoal and White Rock and do some fishing.
As well as the reef, we check out some of our inshore tropical islands.
It's like a little trevally.
Oh, straight on. Look at them, Steve. There they are. I'm on. Oh! Straight down there, Stephen. Oh, this one. Looks like just let go. Okay. How you going, Anthony? Oh, Steve's on, Anthony.
Good, another one.
Yep. Hang it to him.
It's a double hookup.
Yeah. That one I had has just straightened one of the treble hooks on the lure. So it came undone.
He's not far away now.
Okay, just hang to him. He looked like a good fish, Steve, when he struck. Looks like I'm going to be decky. Okay.
Colour.
Good on you, mate.
Kathy, you just
Doesn't look like a very big fish, but he's tail hooked, I think. Like a billy lid.
I've got colour.
Okay, just hold him there, Steve, for a little minute. I'll get Anthony. Anthony, I think we're going to need a gap, Anthony. Sit perhaps to hold it. Yeah, foul hooked him all right. Just hang on there, fella. We'll have those out of you. I'll let you go. Okay. Right, Steve. Okay. Got him? Yep. I'll let him go too. I think I can get him out of there. Tough things, these trevally. Right, not too bad, Stephen.
Yeah, pretty good.
There are big ones here, though.
Then there are the wide open spaces between the island groups and the outer reef, and the chance for light-tackled sailfish and small marlin.
He's on the right! Right! Okay, there he comes on the right! Come on, baby! His tail out of the water then.
Yeah, sir.
Come on! Here he comes! In the middle now, in the middle! Come on, baby! Where'd he go?
There he is.
He's on the right.
It's just behind that break.
Getting a billfish to follow a bait is one thing. Getting him to eat it is entirely another.
Come on, baby. Yeah, I can see him there. He's still coming. Come on, baby. Look at those scars splash. Come on, grab one. There he is.
There he is.
Marlin. It's a good marlin, mate.
Yeah, I see him.
I think he's got it, mate. He's got the mullet. He's got it. Just free spool him there. Free spool him. Okay, lock up. Let's go. Yes, sir. We got him. He's come tight. Beauty. Now just hang on there. I'll get these other rods in. It's just going ahead slowly. Just let me know if you want anything else done.
Yeah.
Anchors anywhere there's just great. Might be a few bass here too. Throw a few poppers at them and see what happens, eh?
And there are places we visit that are so remote, few people have ever seen them.
Enough tension. From what Roy and I have seen of this country so far, about the most prolific fish that lives on the shallow brommy areas of this Holmes Reef is the red bass. There are just literally hundreds, perhaps thousands in any given square 100 meters of this country. All we should have to do to catch them is toss a few poppers out and watch what happens. We'll get them stirred up here in a minute. Here they come, Roy. Here we come. Oh, yeah. Lean on it a bit with that tackle anyway.
He's trying for that coral there.
Not a bad bass,
He's a
actually.
good bass, this one. The colour.
Seem to change colour when they
They get really intense red when they hook up.
Okay, we're now, thank you. Oh, we're working.
Yep. Oh, look at them here. Oh, and round here. Remote and special unspoiled places are a feature of much of the Great Barrier Reef. A lot of the fishing I did with Vic McChrystal we found north of a place called Lizard Island. Gotcha. What we've got here is the perfect shore-based fishery. We're just wandering along the edge of this sand cay here and fishing what is essentially a fish nursery. These flats and shallow coral platforms here are where the juvenile fish do their feeding. And as the tide comes in, things like juvenile barracuda, small trevally, dart, and a host of other small fish swarm over these flats, and they're just suckers for little lures cast to them. Little trevallies. Sure don't hang around for long when you let them go. They just go pew, straight back to where they came from. Probably wondering what on earth all that was about. And then, of course, there's the ultimate fish, the black marlin.
Oh, we could do this for hours, you know, just following a fish slowly backwards while he works deep. Maybe for half an hour until he changes his tactics. We hope we can get him to come up and then we can go back and get some line back. Get on him. He's still deep, Bernie. Still deep. That angle on the line, Stanley, come up. He's on his way up with me. There he is! It's a string. Let it go! Let it go! Take the string. Feels just like a horse, and it's running like a train. Running like a train. Oh, man!
The ocean is a world of mystery, of sunken ships and man's lost history, and a tale of shadows.